Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett here. We're just writing some code before work in the morning. See, it is 8:26, so that means I got right, just shy of 30 minutes to get to do this code. I do have a nut for Rhett. Here you go, baby. And that was an almond. Uh, okay, so I've been waiting for it to build out. All right, so now let's add a viz and then go to this view and then update. And there we go. So basically we are drawing our visualization and it's too small for the space that is available when we're in the editor mode or update mode. So that is, I guess maybe that's why edit stays relevant, because there is no update or noun. This is an editor, which is a noun for a page that is for editing, but it's really more of an updater than an editor, since I'm trying to go with the word update. But maybe I will reserve the word edit for anything that is actually interacting with the code, whereas I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so I've been using this for this project. I started with Cypress, and that sort of was my introduction to trying to like seriously use Cypress. And then I started using it at my job too, to like test my stuff and all that as a developer, right? Because I'm a developer, not a QA, so I don't really have the authority to try to implement that at a site wide, but I have for my own stuff. And man, I'll tell you, if there's any more than like 3 steps to do something, it is really nice having Cypress to run through all the functionality that it's supposed to do. Um, because there's like a lot of times where you're making a change, and the thing you change, the bug that's associated with the thing you change is like 4 steps away or 5 steps away, and that's why and I don't. It's almost impossible to think of all the possible unintended consequences, and then remember. It takes a lot of discipline to remember to go through those same steps and not alter your steps and all that. And that's where having Cypress just sort of run through steps and stuff like that is really helpful. Anyway, so we're digging through and we figured out that inside of this, I don't even know, Viz service, which is in my components, close others. So because I have a Viz service and it's sitting side by side with my component, that tells me that this just is an extra place to put code um, for the component. These are like just where because I don't want necessary. The biggest reason people would typically do this is because they don't want their Viz component TS to get like ridiculous, like 2,000 lines. So it's nice to have like a little service that you can put other stuff in, and maybe even specific stuff. But so this is where the size of this renderer is determined. Now, and I did pull this. Okay, so I have this render, I have set size, and then I pulled this out so that I have that up here, so I can like add some additional logic here. Um, Additional logic to determine. And this like component, really in general, I didn't want it to be aware at all that something was happening outside of it. Like, I think the component itself, let's go to the component, has an input of the number. Okay, so the height and width gets passed in. So basically, I think we want, let's see. Okay, so this is what sets that this width and height. And let's see. Component visualization, render in native element. Is that what I was working on over here? Render in, okay, yeah, render in native element. So I guess it's, since it's for the viz, I guess it makes sense actually to pass in the width and the height instead of, how was I getting it? Set size, width, and height. Oh, okay. So I get it off of the renderer. I really shouldn't get it off the renderer, though. Now that you think about it. Now that I think about this, because um, yeah, I think it would be better if it used its own passed-in width and height instead of the render, instead of actually looking at the object for the width and height. Uh, it would be kind of nice if, like, the thought that's crossing my mind is like, does it ever need to know um, anything about the ST renderer? It may not. It may not at all. Okay, so to me it seems like what I want to do, and I don't know if this is like the final thing, but it seems like what I want to do is I want to add the width. Which is a number, and the height. But like, so there's this awesome book called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. If you're a computer programmer, um, I think that it's in your best interest to read that book, um, because it's probably one of the best sort of instruction systems that I'm aware of that that describes um, how how to deal with abstractions mentally. Like, um, they talk about a lot of abstractions. They talk about how things change based on their context. There's an amazing part where they're talking about, like, a person lived on Earth, and then they passed a watch down that was designed for Earth to a different person that lived on a planet, I believe, where they had 28 hours in a day, and like all of the sort of weirdness about trying to maintain a watch that was designed for Earth on this other planet where the time is slightly different, and the things that that you have to do every day in order to be able to continue to use your watch from Earth, because you have an emotional attachment to your watch from Earth, or possibly you can't, wherever you're at now, you can't create a new watch or whatever. But the point is he goes through a lot of like that, trying to really hash out um, that kind of thing, that kind of like, um, oh, the world is kind of different, or what you're thinking of and how you approach problems changes based on uh, not just the problem, but also the context of the problem. And I think sometimes we have problems that we just can't recognize. They're right in front of our face, but we can't recognize. And the thing that hit me this morning is that, like, as a developer, what's been really challenging is anything that takes more than 4 or 5 clicks in to remember to test that and make sure that it still works before. And and that's the problem. And no one ever defined that problem for me, because most websites, the way they build them out is it's like agile, and they have you kind of build the basics, and then they just keep adding on more and more pieces to it, and then that just ends in tears every single time. And I think it's because, well, one of the many reasons is because it as you add things on, and especially if you're doing it in multiple teams independently, it's easy to break things that you don't know anything about, or that are so deep in that you just never test them. And the answer to that is clearly end to end. And as far as I can tell, Cypress is way ahead of everybody else. Um, Cypress is ahead because they handle timing a lot, totally different than any other JavaScript anything that I've ever been involved with, which would make it kind of difficult for like a seasoned JavaScript developer, because it just doesn't behave the way you expect it to behave. But man, the way it behaves is so much better for that problem, for that context. But anyway, so this should, when I save this, it should break. But the nice thing about it is it should tell me where the problems are, so I don't have to go search for them. So it's telling me that required, but it only got 2 in the viz component. So I can hold the control button down. I mean, not the alt button down. No. Oh, control button. I was click on the actual file. You could also hold the control button down and do this, and I don't know what that is, but so now basically we're bringing these into sync. And like, this should have been super obvious to me yesterday, but it wasn't. And then after having a nice night of sleep, like, this is, if this works the way I'm expecting it to work, this should be way simpler than anything I was thinking of. And what is it? Width is first, it looks like. In my brain, it would have been nice if I'd always so it's complaining, and it shouldn't be this S2 width. It should be something. Oh man, I should not call that S2 width. Okay, I don't know what the problem is here. Oh, I need to execute it because it's a signal. Now it looks like it shouldn't be width and height. It should be ST width. It should be viz width. Because that's what we're actually passing in, is the viz width, not the. That's what we're representing here, is the actual visualizations width, not the ST width. And I suspect in the future I'm going to want to be able to have a visualization inside of my okay, what now? Oh, put an X there. A visualization along with some text or some other element in there. And so this will probably be very helpful to have these separate. Now, I don't know if this is going to work or not. We'll see. Because again, there's timing issues. I don't know exactly if the time is going to. Okay, so it didn't break there, so that's good. Update. Okay, so I think I was not expecting this, but for some reason it's showing it in the upper left, and I think this whole thing is in fact a canvas. Let's see. I want to pop that out. Let me grab this little guy here. Go. So this visualization is there, and then it's got this viz content. That's my app viz, which is weird to me because I would have thought it would have been there. Oh, okay, so this guy, it's still 200 by 200. Oh. So this guy is 200 by 200, and then this guy is 200 by 200. And I thought I had. And I don't know if that's a timing issue. See, I think it's a timing issue. So let's come over here and let's look at our width and height. Because it kind of acts like the width and height is supposed to be 200 right now. But I think it's supposed to be like the actual, oh, wrong one. Oh, okay, I got all kinds of problems over here. That's weird that that it is so wild that that didn't come up as a. So I think if we were to restart, it would catch this problem, but it did not catch it in real time. The fact that I was connecting to the wrong, or that I, didn't update this properly. But that would explain why it's 200 by 200. It doesn't really explain why it's. Oh, yeah, that's why it's not. That's why it's black, because the gray was part of, I think. Anyways, are we building? Okay, so I think this is the errors. Yeah, see it's saying width is not provided. And I think it's still trying to build it though. So anyways, this should be viz width. I really don't know what's going on down there. Like, it just kind of seems like it's just hanging. Now it's finally building. I haven't hit save yet, so it's still broken. But just like for some strange reason, when I was working with it, it didn't catch it that the wrong variable was being bound to, and that is weird. Okay, so now it's catching it on the on the recompile, on the restart. And that, like, I remember in Angular 2, and then they didn't have an Angular 3, and then they went to Angular 4, and all the way up to probably like Angular 7 or Angular 8. That was something that, like, after you did like maybe a half hour of coding or something, it always was kind of smart um, to redraw or to restart, because there was certain things that only got caught when it was starting. And then I hadn't seen that problem for a long, 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 long time, and now we're starting to see that problem again. And I guess that is sort of the nature of software development. It's just like um, um, you kind of take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Okay, so now it seems to be upset about this st render, st width, st render, st height in the viz service. I think we're in a very weird place right now with this one. It's 4200, and then add a viz, and then update. Okay, so now we're back to this. And so what I wanted to do was and it is weird, right? Like, what am I doing wrong here? Oh, viewer width. It is a bit weird that we're, so that should be enough information to see. It's 834 is the viewer width. But over here, when we look at this thing, this thing is getting a style. Okay, so this guy's getting a style of 834, but I want this thing to have a style of 8, also have a width of 834, but it's not. And that's weird to me. Um, and what my first instinct is that um, this thing is, there's a timing issue here, and like it's just the standard way things go. So what I want to do is after view init. See, I think what's happening is that this vis width is changing um, after so much time. So what I'm going to do is just going to do no, not, I don't want to do that. I want to do set timeout. I'm just going to have it wait like a second. Now, sometimes I have to this has to be this is the only solution I can come up with. And then sometimes I get like this works, but then I can come up with like a cleaner, less I don't know, like less, what do you call it, like when everyone, like there's topics that get, it's like this is sort of this set timeout's sort of a red flag for a lot of people. You know, they see that and then they're just like, oh, you got to explain this to me. I don't like this. I don't like the set timeout. So what we're thinking is that, well, first of all, we're going to have to go to a different screen. That's interesting. So it's dying certain times because, like, when we come here, there isn't actually an editor. I mean, there isn't a renderer for it to render, so. So you saw that it took a second for the, and then update. Runtime error. So we're getting a weird runtime error. Now, oddly, let me see. I was just going to assume that this didn't, yeah, this still didn't get the right number. Okay, so I'm just going to add a console log here. And then we're going to have to, we really should just push it straight to one of these other views. If, see, there's no ST renderer, so that is throwing an error. Because the ST renderer doesn't live, it doesn't exist. So I'm not using, but that is a good catch. I shouldn't be using that. I should be using this width and height, but I'm not doing it. So I just don't know if I should fix that right now or not. Height. And then we'll just get rid of these two. So basically it's going to show whatever width and height that it gets. And then One of the other nice things about like kind of doing this layout for like if you're going to pass in a bunch of arguments, if you have a whole bunch of arguments, in general, you probably want to avoid having a bunch of arguments. Like this is not a good thing, I don't think. But if you have to, and sometimes you must, it is so nice to be able to, because you can put a comment here, like blah, 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 and you could put a comment next to each one of them, and that's pretty nice side effect of that. 851. Yeah, sometimes you really know what you're doing. You know, you've done it 100 times before, and then sometimes it's new. And that's just sort of the reality of software development. Sometimes you just have to. Oh yeah, baby. And then, so I think the height is. I think I only did the width, right? Let's see. Because I think my height. Well, no, my height must be right too. So, as you notice, like, so if I go to this view, it's nice and square. But if I go to this view, it's all distorted. Okay, yeah, so there's that problem. Okay, then I forgot about the other problem. That's our timeout. Dakota, stop it. Width. And then, what in the world? Why can I not find my timeout? All right. So, is it this one? Is it that one? Yeah. Okay, so the next step would be to set this to 0. Um, is what I will normally do, just to see if there is a you know, if it, like sometimes it literally all it needs is a new. So it didn't need the time. Now I think if we get rid of the set timeout though, I think it'll be broken again. Oh no, it's not. So we don't even need the timeout. So that was not the issue. All right. So the obvious issue that we have right now is that this looks all distorted, and that's because we went from a square to like where we could just default the sort of the aspect ratio, I think it's called. Um, we used to be able to just set it. I mean, to 1. It was always 1 because this width and the height was the same. But now we don't have that. Something changed. Now that was a problem, and it's very easy to fix. There's 100 different ways to fix it, and I didn't know exactly what would be the best way until I actually ran into the problem. So here we are. So now it's time to fix it. Sometimes it's better to wait till you have the actual problem in front of you. I think the right answer at this point will be at the place where it gets drawn to calculate the width and the height ratio. Now that might be a mistake because like where the point it gets drawn is in like a loop that happens over and over again. So we probably don't actually want to calculate it there. we probably actually want to calculate it in like here where, so we probably, when we call this, whatever calls this, um, does the actual drawing, probably we probably should pass it in there as opposed to calculate it over there, because um, that calculation is expensive. And so it's not particularly expensive, but it does have a cost, and we would be running it on every animation frame. So we want to do that in a place where it just gets calculated once, and then it doesn't have to get calculated outside of sort of just the normal circumstances. So we don't want to. We want to definitely have that decoupled from the request animation frame. Even if it happens with every request animation frame, we don't want them coupled, because sometimes the browser will just skip an animation frame, or it will have one that's longer than the other. So let it manage that. Anyways, it is 8:57, so I got to go. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.